welcome back to the Crazy Courage Business Stories podcast. I have here another fantastic guest. His name is Myles Youngblood. He owns a digital marketing agency. He has a podcast. This guy seems to be doing it all, and I want to hear more about it. So Myles, why don't you tell me, how does that all work?
Thank you. Appreciate it, Nick. And for those of you wondering, yes, my last name really is Youngblood. I came back from a few conferences and a lot of people didn't believe that was really my last name.
Really?
Man, where should I start? Should I start at the beginning? Should I start the podcast, SFG? Where should we start?
Let's start with SFG. That's the whole basis of the nucleus of your world.
For sure. So I'll start with what I do today. So what I do is I have a digital marketing agency called SFG. SFG Media stands for Strive for Greatness Media because LeBron James was one of my favorite basketball players.
Nice.
I don't have a painting of him up yet, of Kobe right here, but yeah. So LOC everything, and what I do is I help content creators and podcasters scale their channel and brand and build their communities through short form content. So a lot of my clients, they were in the long form game, and when YouTube Shorts came out, they didn't necessarily know what to do and how to take advantage of that. So I came in and I said, hey, I'll take your long form content, I'll cut it up into shorts, and I'll distribute it across all platforms. So that's YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and I'll do that every day so you could get that compounding effect. Some of my clients, I actually do it twice a day for them. So I started doing that. I launched that company, and I got my first paying client June of last year. So it's been a little over a year, and it's been really good. It's been really good.
Nice.
So, and just having that background in media has allowed me to then go into my podcast, which my podcast is Beyond Ordinary, which is a show that likes to highlight the different facets of entrepreneurship, because a lot of people see the end result, few people consider the journey, and I want to highlight people's journeys. So I've been able to, use my media background to help elevate my podcast too.
It's easy to see what people are doing now, and I always talk about like the top athletes. You talk about celebrities, actors, entrepreneurs, whatever. You hear about them when they're at the top of their game, right? And you don't see necessarily all the blood, sweat, and tears that they put in behind the scenes to get where they are today, right? So it's, to be honest, it's kind of what the podcast is about, right? It's talking about that blood, sweat, and tears to better understand how you got to where you are. You make it sound so easy, like, yeah, SFG Media, I just help people, no big deal, whatever. You make it sound like it's been a year, we're rolling along, no sweat, right? You make it sound easy. And that's what most entrepreneurs do, right? They got to present, that they're doing well and their business is successful and they're passionate about it. And that's great. But when the camera's off and the mic's not going, there's a lot of the fears, doubts, all the challenges and stuff. We don't see that. We don't see that from people. We just see the end results. We see the happy stuff. We see the stuff, the content that people put out in social media and all that stuff. But you're promoting a brand. So obviously you're not going to talk about the fears and doubts as much, right? For me, I feel like as an entrepreneur, as someone building a business, you feel kind of alone a lot of the time. I don't think people understand how lonely it is. It's lonely at the top, but it's lonely just doing it yourself because you're on the agency, right? You have a team. That team relies on you, right? So they look up to you. It's tough to, you don't want to tell them you have fears and doubts. Guys, I don't know if I'm going to make payroll this week, or can't talk to a team about that. So there's a sense of loneliness. Anyway, let's get off that. That's not the happy stuff. But
exactly.
SFG Media, you said you work with content creators. Any kind of content creators in particular? Like, are they podcasts? Are they like YouTube guys? What kind of content creators?
So mainly it's people that do have YouTube channels, right? A lot of my clients are in the finance space that make content about stocks and stuff, what stocks to buy. They're pretty popular.
Okay.
And I have one that has a call-in show, a poker call-in show, and then another one has a podcast. Typically the talking head styles videos and podcasts like what we're doing right now typically are the best for what I do in terms of repurposing their long form content. Like if there's too much going on in the background or people are doing like IRL interviews and it's a bunch of cuts and moving of the camera, it makes it significantly harder to repurpose. So it's mainly those talking head videos that are my clients.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So mostly in the financial sector and some poker guys. And
I didn't intend on it just being the finance guys. It was really just one. That's really what I'm into. I'm into cryptocurrencies mainly and stocks. And so I was watching their channel for the longest time since 2020. So then when I started my business, I was like, okay, well, I might as well reach out to the people whose content I actually watch and I actually like.
That makes sense, right?
Exactly. And so
because you understand it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. And that's another thing. So when I go in terms of repurposing it, it's not necessarily because you can do Opus clips where you just throw it in AI, it generates you clips. And I always tell people, like, if you have no budget or you have a limited budget, that's definitely a good route to go. However, I already split tested this with my podcast for 90 days. I posted a short every single day, and
Yeah.
about I would say 60% of them were shorts that my team made that were
Okay.
actually edited. They went through, did the hooks, it looked all nice, and then the other 40% was just from AI, straight up captions from Opus Clip. And what I found is that the top performing shorts, like the top 20 performing shorts, were the ones where I actually edited them. So, which honestly
That's
didn't
interesting.
necessarily surprise me, because it's not necessarily just about the editing, it's more so about what is the best moments to piece together. What words
Yeah.
or should I, cut out to make everything flow, and AI isn't, good enough to do that yet.
And I feel like that's a lot of the conversations I've had about AI are exactly what you're saying. They're good for basic things,
Mhm.
but AI isn't quite sophisticated enough to pick up on the nuances. Certainly, like what you're talking about with the clips, but also like in the art world, right? They can't recreate images properly. There's always issues. People end up with six fingers or goofy stuff like that, right?
Right.
So AI still has a long way to go, even though it's clearly on everyone's mind these days, right? It's buzz everywhere.
Mhm.
I get the AI thing. It makes sense. And certainly if you're starting out, you don't have a big budget, you don't have a team, that might be the way to go. But if you
For
want to do it
sure.
properly, it's like anything else, right? You want to do it properly, you got to hire the right people to get things done properly. That's
Absolutely,
you
you
want
get
the
what you
results.
paid for. Opus
You
Clips,
get
I
what you
believe,
pay
is
for.
is
You got it,
9.99 a month. So it's like you can't necessarily expect to go viral off of 9.99 a month.
right? Right? Like you said, you get what you pay for, and that's it. You're not likely to get enough out of it if you really want to go big or viral. But tell me about your podcast. Tell me about Beyond Ordinary.
Right. So beyond ordinary, you want to talk stories? All right, let's talk stories. My service for my marketing agency is done for you, right? Done for you for content. And
Okay.
what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of move away from the done for you and do a bunch of done with you. One day I was on YouTube and I was just looking up different stuff. I found this guy that was basically had the same business model I had,
Okay.
with the short form content for YouTubers, and I was like, okay,
Nice.
cool. And so he started talking about how he pivoted to consulting and all this other stuff. Long story short, I ended up buying his consulting program, which was several thousands of dollars, which I was like, all right, cool. He's been in my same position. He ended up pivoting, scaled his company, so I'll just do the same. So through that program, what they wanted me to do is they wanted me to start my own done with you consulting business. And in order to get leads, what they wanted me to do is I think I had to buy like a 10,000 leads from like
Nice.
Fiverr, and then take them and make a lookalike audience in Facebook, and then run Facebook ads to a page, and then also make short form content to promote my brand, and then try and DM anybody that interacts with my content, right? That was basically the client acquisition funnel that they were trying to get me to do,
Okay.
right? So I started doing it. I ended up pivoting niches altogether. I was going to do my consulting service was going to be with accountants.
Right.
So I started going through the program. I got pretty deep in the program. I made my school community. I built my SOPs. I did everything they were saying to do. But there were really two things that happened, which I was kind of like dreading. One, I didn't want to have to continue to spend money on ads. That was one. And then two, probably even bigger, is that I just did not enjoy every single day, because I had to make, short form content every day. I had to come up with content ideas. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Tough.
I had to get up, script it, write it, record it, send it to the editor, and I was doing that every single day. And I just remember I got to a point where I would just wake up and I wouldn't even want to get out of bed, really.
Right.
Like, not, because I physically couldn't. It was just like mentally, I was just, I really got to
Yep.
make this content again for this niche that I really don't care about, right? So I remember one day I was talking, because they give you a coach throughout the program too. So one
Okay.
day, my coach, I was talking to him about my struggles with the content, and I had already had several clients. I actually still have those clients to this day. This was probably around February, March, and so of this year. And so he was like, "Hey, what if you did like podcast interviews with your current clients, and you just do it, even though they're not in the accounting niche? At least it'll be like a good social group." So I was like, "All right, cool." So the first podcast that's actually on my page was with one of my clients. And at this point, I was just doing it for a social proof. I was just trying to use this for more accounting clients.
Nice.
So then one day I was listening to Alex Hormozy speak, and he made a video, and he was saying, if the best thing happens, then what? So I'm like, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
So I remember I sat there, I closed my eyes, I started thinking, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm making all this money. I have this consulting agency. I talk to accountants every single day. I'm making this content. And then I was like, is this really what I want to do though? And then the
Right.
answer to that was like, hell no. So from that point forward, I was like, okay, what do I really want to do? And I was like, all right, well, the podcast was actually kind of fun. So what if instead of making the podcast, we kind of just do the podcast on the side just to hopefully get clients? What if you just put all your energy into the podcast and then make it big and have a big platform? There are some of my favorite podcasters are Steven from Diary of a CEO, Chris Williamson on the Modern Wisdom podcast,
Oh, yeah.
Andrew Huberman on Huberman Lab. These are podcasters that I watch and look up to, and I'm like, damn, well, they got a big brand. They make a lot of money in their podcast. You know what I mean?
Right.
Why can't you do the same? So I was like, all right, cool. I mean, it's going to be several years, you know what I mean? Because podcasting, you got to play the long game. So, but I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to do that instead. So literally from that point forward, I literally just completely scrapped the consulting agency or whatever for accountants. I wasted that consulting program I spent money on, didn't get a refund or anything, wasted all that money, whatever. But I mean, I'm not too upset about it because I would have never thought to do the podcast had I not even bought their program to begin with. So, so
it's all a journey. It's all part of the journey, right?
Exactly. And so then I really just decided I'm gonna go all in on this podcasting and really try and make my platform big. And so from that point forward, I started interviewing my clients, which was a blessing because they have their own platforms. And so when our episode drops, they help promote. I was able to get a lot of traction early by having them, and I've just been kind of staying consistent with it ever since. I drop once a week every Thursday, and I'm looking to try and get it up to twice a week. Just finding guests was kind of difficult a little bit for me. I haven't been dipping into the well, but like there's different subscription services I signed up for and met a lot of people through doing. So I think I could do twice a week. But yeah, that's the story.
When did you start the podcast?
Oh, so I launched the podcast it was May 25th of this year when I dropped the first episode.
So you have the agency, and you know that I feel like those go hand in hand. The podcast and the agency, it's all digital content creation.
Exactly.
A lot of overlap there, I would think. That's great that you're building up your brand. Let me ask you this: do you have a favorite interview that you did for your podcast?
That's a great question. That's actually a question I ask other podcasters. Do I have a favorite interview?
Good ones?
Yeah, a lot of good ones. A lot of them were about finance, but I would probably say that the interview I did with this guy, his name's Javon. I actually haven't released it yet. It'll probably release in a couple weeks. It was about empathetic leadership and how empathy plays a role in scaling your business and how you can't necessarily be an authoritative leader. And it seems like that would be something that's really self-explanatory, but I think that people are just unaware of how they treat, other people, So I always try to make sure to treat, my employees like their family, because what I've seen is when people actually enjoy working for my company, like my core team that I've had for well over a year, they've been with me and they're reliable. And sure, I could probably go out and, try and cut costs and find somebody cheaper. But again, like we talked about for the Opus clips, you get what you pay for.
Exactly.
I had plenty of people that, showed me that I tried to hire and their prices were cheap. And I was like, oh, okay, let me bring them on. They're cheap, gone within a month. You know what I mean? So, so I try and make sure to prioritize treating my employees well, making sure that they feel respected, that they enjoy working. And literally, I actually let go of somebody who was an editor, and she was doing fine. I have two positions in my company. I have an editor and I have a creative director, and the creative director just watched the actual videos for the best parts and to cut them up into shorts, and they'll make a timestamp and then send it off to the editor. So they work hand in hand. And my editor came to me and said, hey, like she sent me screenshots, said, hey, she's kind of rude every time I suggest something. She sent me screenshots, and I'm like, damn, like this is actually kind of crazy. And I saw it for first and foremost. And so I had to let her go, even though at her actual job of being an editor, she was fine. She was phenomenal. But because she was bringing down the culture, and I didn't want that to impact my company as a whole. I
Yeah.
just had to let her go. So
No, that's smart. You got, the old saying, right? You got to be slow to hire, quick to fire, right? You can't let toxic people or people that are harming your culture stick around, because if they stick around too long, the damage will be done.
exactly.
It's really hard to undo. The morale is tough to get back. So yeah, sometimes it's tough. And it's like a hockey team, it's a basketball team, football team. Everyone's got to work well together, right? You got to have
Yeah.
a good chemistry. You got one player on the team who's wrecking everything for everyone. The locker room is not going to be a happy place.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely very unfortunate. And, I had to do it for the greater good of the team and make sure to keep my core set of people tight and,
Yeah, sure.
keep that company culture. So
And you got to
a lot of
trust your
lessons.
people. So yeah, and you want them to be happy. Yeah, it's not easy though. I can't imagine that kind
Yeah.
of decision is ever easy.
Yeah, it's definitely not, because letting go of somebody and them relying on your income, the income that you're giving them, as well as, I mean, me personally, I just don't enjoy having to go out and find new talent and screen
No.
them. Like, it takes time, and I'd rather just try and work with people as opposed to just getting rid of them. But I thought that was probably the best move for me to make.
That makes sense. Okay. So Myles, how far back do we have to go to really tap into the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey?
I'm probably just like towards the end of when I finished college, which was only like 4 years ago. So I'm
Okay.
not that old.
So right out of college, you decided, yeah, I'm going to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so growing up, my father has his own cleaning company, so I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just never knew what it was going to be.
Okay.
So then 2020 happened. I graduated college. I went to Howard University, shout out Howard HU. And I unfortunately graduated during the pandemic, so I didn't have no
Right.
graduation. I remember I was pledging at the time. We were supposed to have our big show on the yard, which I never ended up getting either. So it kind of sucks
At this
at the
point.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was disappointing. But again, another, blessing in disguise, because what ended up happening is I entered the job market when basically everything was remote. You know what I mean? I
Right.
have never had to go to a corporate office ever to do work. Everything has always, at least my job, has
Right.
always been 100% remote. So throughout that time, being remote, I had time to, be on my laptop, my personal laptop, look at different hustles I could start and whatnot. And because, 2020, it was right before the bull run, I came into, stocks and crypto and trying
Okay.
to do that type of stuff. So I was watching Chris Sain's YouTube channel, which he's also actually my client now for my
Nice.
business. But at the time, I was watching his channel for stocks and stuff, and I was just buying stuff from Robinhood and just trying and watching everything go up. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just buying stuff, saw it go up,
Okay.
buying stuff, saw it go up. You know what I mean? He mentioned something, buy it, it would just, go up.
Right.
But obviously that's what happens in the bull market.
Yes.
So, but again, what goes up must come down. And so when everything came down, I ended up losing a lot of I then decided to also, during that time, the reason why I lost a lot of money is because I was like, damn, like I can make even more money if I get a exchange that allows me to take out leverage. So if I take out
Yes, leverage.
so I tried leverage trading, ended up getting liquidated. This was like 2021 when everything started taking. Yeah, it was 2021, got liquidated.
Yeah.
And I have a colleague, me and him I've been on this hustle together, like trying to figure out, how are we gonna leave corporate America, we gotta find a hustle. And so I remember I was with him the day we got liquidated, and we were just like, he got the email, he was like, damn, I got the email, I got liquidated, did you? And I looked down, I'm like, yeah, I got it too. So
So liquidated, that means, let's just clarify. That means that
I lost all my money.
margin call, like it's,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep, they take all your money. You'll have no more money left to margin or capital in your account in order to keep the position open. And so they basically close out your position at whatever loss, which was all of it.
That hurts.
So I was at zero. So then, yeah, I did. But me just being stupid and dumb, I was like, we were like, hey, this I was using Kraken at the time, and Kraken, the highest leverage they let you to use is like 5x, and there's a reason for that, and because it's so easy to get liquidated. But me and my friend were like, what if we get on Bybit? Bybit allows you to have up to X leverage.
Ooh,
So we got on Bybit. So I ended up getting on Bybit, ended up replenishing my account, and I Ended up, I didn't get on 100x, but I was on 25x. So I
Okay.
was at 5 times what I was at before, and the same thing happened. Ended up
Wow.
losing all my money again.
That
So
hurt. That hurts. It stings.
it
Stings.
did, it did. And so then I was just trying to figure out what I was gonna do. I looked into drop shipping, didn't like that. Then I looked into, social media marketing agencies, and I was like, oh, what if I did one of those? Those don't take too much money to start up. And then I started with Facebook's ads with
Okay.
real estate agents.
Yeah.
And that was tough,
It
mainly
was tough.
because yeah, well, it was tough because a lot of real estate agents, like the majority of them,
Yeah.
don't make that much money. You know
Ah,
what I mean? A lot of them don't make that much money, or they're not really that serious. It's like, oh, I'm just doing this part time just to
right.
kind of get
Right.
by and whatnot. And the ones that would be good fit or probably would take it serious, most of them want to get paid on commission. Which, getting paid on commission isn't necessarily the end of the world, but I just don't like I if I want to get paid on commission, I want to at least have some sort of way to be able to control to make sure that they're doing what they're doing. You know what
Sure.
I mean? Which I wasn't able to figure out. So I ended up leaving that. And then there was a trend going on at the time. So this is the beginning of 2023, where short form content was popping up. There was a lot of short form content agencies. I actually had a friend, he started one. And his client, he was like doing food or whatever. And I was like, you know what? What if I started a content agency? I could like rub elbows with the finance guys.
Right.
They'd be my clients, and then I'd have their phone number. And if I wanted to hit them up about certain stock, I can. So
Network
that's
with
what I
those
did.
guys. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Sure.
I'd rather work with those guys. So that's how I came across my marketing agency, and I got Chris Hain was my first client back in what year? What did I say it was? It was June of 2023, and
Yeah.
it's been rocking and rolling ever since.
Well, that's great. Just pile on the other guys. Chris likes your work. You got a good referral there, testimonial. That's great.
Exactly, and that's exactly what he did. Because towards the end of that year, it was like around Christmas time, I got a text from him, and he said, "Hey, I got this other finance guy, and I've seen his content before. He was like, this other guy is in finance. He likes your work. He wants to do some work, da da da." And so I ended up signing him in January, and he's still working with me today. And I actually met him for the very first time a couple weeks ago. We went to this conference in Dallas, and he was there, so
That's
I got to
nice.
meet him in person.
That's great. Yeah, because it's all virtual, right?
Exactly, exactly. That's one thing too that kind of tripped me out about working with people in content, because it's like you see them through a screen all the time, but you kind of almost forget that they're a real person. And so like when you see them in person, it's like, whoa, like you're real. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's different. Absolutely. It's different to meet people in person. Yeah, I get that. So now you've got all these finance guys you're talking to, you're working with them. How's your stock trading going?
mm,
Tell me it's going better.
good, good question. So what I ended up doing, so before what I was doing was I was like basically trading with leverage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And just trying to like day trade. So I decided about 2 years ago, it was around October 2022. I was like, hey, let me just put down the leverage. Let me just buy the safe stuff like Bitcoin with just fiat money, no leverage, da da da, and then also buy every single week, and then I'll be fine. And I've been doing that, and I've made significantly more money, and I think we have one more pump left in the bull run to make even more money before I cash out. And so I've been doing a lot better, way better.
Now, is this your own? Like, are you taking stock tips from these guys you're talking to? You're doing it on your own? Where does your research come from?
So my research, so there's another guy, shout out Jason Casper. He's a crypto trader, and he uses this indicator called Market Cipher B. It's
Okay.
a really good oscillator. That's what I was trading and using and trying to day trade with, but I just zoomed out on the weekly/monthly time frame, so that way I don't have to watch it on the day to day. For me, it's just way easier to just predict when you zoom out and you use those oscillators, as opposed
Yes.
to when you're trying to, let me get in today and get out in 2 hours, or get in today, get out tomorrow. It's like, no, I'm gonna get in today, and I might not get out for like, I don't know, a month, 2 months, 3 months,
Yeah.
and which is fine, because that allows me to just compound my position. I'm not really emotionally tied to it, especially because I'm not using leverage, so I can't really get liquidated.
Nice.
And as long as I buy stuff that I believe in, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, throw some Solana in there too, I think that I will be genuinely profitable. And that thesis has proven to be correct, because I was
Nice.
buying Bitcoin in 2022 back when it was at like 15,000, 20,000, and now it's at,
Wow.
I think
Yeah.
today it's at like 57. So that's a pretty good return right there. And I'm
Nope.
just waiting for that 100K, and then I can start saving
Keep
off my
talking about
position.
it. People keep talking about it. It's gonna hit it eventually, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I have some hope that we could get
I don't understand day trading. I understand how it works. Don't get me wrong. I don't
right.
understand how people can do that grind just every
Yeah.
day, and that'd be so stressful. You're just watching these little candles or whatever go up and down all the time, and you got to sit there. You can't leave your desk or your computer or wherever your phone, whatever you're looking at. You got to look at it for at least a few hours a day. But every day, unless the markets are closed, Labor
Right.
Day is fine. You get a holiday, but other than that, you can't really go on vacation. You really got to pay attention to this stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't get that grind.
Yeah, I didn't like it either because it's just I would be setting alerts and then I'd be like,
Right?
"Oh, let me create out the chart." And yeah, so I pretty much gave up trying to day trade. I just pretty much just buy on Coinbase, buy on my Trust wallet, and
And I'm
go
with
from
you.
there.
I'm more about the zooming out, look at the daily, weekly charts because that to me makes more sense because I don't have time to be sitting at a computer just staring at the screen, hoping that trade comes up or whatever,
All right.
and to jump on it. I don't have the time. I don't. I think I'd be too stressed out. I don't think I could handle it either. Maybe my heart would give out. I don't know.
Yeah. And
No, it's not for me. So do you go mainly into crypto or do you have stocks as well? What's your mix?
so might be a little controversial from, some of the this is not financial advice, by the way.
No, it's not financial advice. Is it?
But
No.
me personally, I'm looking for, I'm 26. Like if I was to lose everything, I'll be okay, right? So I'm trying to maximize my money. So I actually have 100% of my portfolio in cryptocurrencies
Okay.
in various projects. I have,
Sure.
Bitcoin and Ethereum are my biggest holding, of course. But, I have my speculative plays like Pepe, Bonk. I have other AI coins like Render, stuff like that. I have my hands in a lot of different coins, but I 100% crypto. And the reason why is really just for one, obviously you're gonna get more gains in crypto relatively than the stock market, but also two, I was listening to, I believe it was Graham Stephan was talking to Dave Ramsey, and he was just talking about what do you know, right? And he was like, okay, well, I'm really good at real estate. And he's like, all right, well, you should invest in real estate. And at the time, I was really just watching, like, I wasn't really watching a lot of the people talk about stocks. I was mainly watching Jason Casper's channel, who is basically 100% crypto. So I was like, okay, well, if this is what I consume all the time, then I might as well invest in it because this is what I spend my time watching. And they go over the Bitcoin cycle and stuff like that. So it's like, I understand this. If I go to the stock market and I try to do the same stuff, yeah, the oscillator I use looks the same on the chart, and the candles look the same, but the way they behave is not. So
Sure.
so I just decided to just stick to what I've been learning over the past 4 years, which is crypto, and that's why 100% of my holdings is in crypto.
Do most of the finance guys that you follow, are they heavy into crypto? The guys you
A
work
lot of
with
them,
as well?
that I work with, they're heavy in mainly stocks. However, there are certain channels on YouTube that are dedicated just to 100% crypto, so I watch their channels a lot more than the stock guys. Yeah, the stock guys are on my client side. I watch their stuff mainly because I have to, because they hired me to do their short form. I'm not putting my money in the stock market like that.
Okay, got a little bit off topic there, but it's okay. Like I said, I love to see where stories take us. You never know. And like I said, just the questions pop into my head. I just follow it down the rabbit hole and go with it, right? So what do you got coming up next? What's the next project for it? Do you have anything on the horizon?
Project coming up. I mean, I don't have any like big projects coming up. Really just trying to get more guests on my podcast. I'm trying to get the president. Well, he's no longer the president, but the president of my alma mater. He's a surgeon now at a local hospital. So one day I want to pop in there and be like, hey man, like I got a podcast, can you come on? That's the next, I guess big guest that I'm trying to get on my podcast. I'm kind of optimistic and hope that he can, because the president of my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, go mob to the good bros. I was able to get him on my podcast, so hopefully I could get another president.
That sounds great. And I gotta say, it's one of the greatest things I enjoy about podcasting. And I don't do my own content. I just interview people. That's my whole thing. My whole thing is interviewing people. But I love the people I meet. Like I'm meeting people like you. Myles, I wouldn't have met you if I didn't have a podcast. And it's just great that I get to interact with people like yourself, and all these people have great stories that I wouldn't normally talk to, and I can just easily reach out, say, hey, I have a podcast, come on it. And a lot of people, some people say no, some people are not interested, but you get a lot of yeses, and that's what keeps me going. It's a lot of fun, really.
For sure.
Me, it's about all the people I meet. I really enjoy it. I always
What
get
about
something.
you? Where are you trying to take the show?
So I'll tell you right now, I have a full-time job, 9 to 5.
Cool.
This is a passion project for me, which I really enjoy. The best thing I get out of it is meeting people. So
Right.
it's fantastic. I'd love it if at some point this podcast generated enough revenue that I could do it full time. That'd be great. But it's a passion project. So the goal isn't the revenue. It's just enjoy it so much. I'd love to be able to dedicate more time to it.
Yeah.
I think that's really the basis for it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. It's kind of like you when you weren't enjoying working with the accountants. That wasn't the right fit for you, so you moved on to something else. I'm doing this because I enjoy it. I've always enjoyed talking to people about their businesses, hearing their stories, and I always found that when I looked back, those were the conversations I enjoyed the most. So I thought, well, great. How can I have more of those conversations? How could I do that? And at the same time, back in my head, I always wanted to create something like, okay, well, I'll create content by talking to people, getting their stories out there. So for me, it seemed like a perfect fit. And I love talking to all sorts of people, like yourself, digital marketing, podcasting, all that stuff. But I'll talk to anyone who has a good story. I really, not knowing exactly who's going to be on the podcast next, so I can kind of discover that. It's part of the adventure for me. It's kind of the fun. I mean, of course, I try to do research on my guests ahead of time, of course. But I like the not knowing who's coming down the road kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So it's a lot of fun for me, the podcasting. And I really hope that people get something out of it, right? So they hear like your story, even if it's a story about the leveraging, how that's kind of dangerous, and you got to be careful, right? Even if they get that out of it, or even just they understand that it's not easy to run a team and having to let someone go. Those kind of lessons where like, I'm going to start a business, it's going to be awesome. I love cooking food. I'm going to start my own restaurant. Like, I don't know. I've never seen a restaurateur that was anywhere near happy and calm. They're always stressed out and
absolutely. The profit margins on food is like only like 20%.
Yeah. You enjoy cooking food, you do that for yourself or your family or whatever. When you get into a restaurant, it's a whole different ballgame. I don't know you'd enjoy it anymore. Like when you hear that, you shouldn't turn a hobby into a business. That's what they're talking about. Like if you have a passion for something that you enjoy, you need to understand why you enjoy it. Like for yourself, you enjoy playing poker as a way to relax, as a way to escape, as a way to unwind. You don't want to turn that into a business necessarily because that changes what your hobby is about, right?
Yeah, it changes like the mindset and your intent in going into it, knowing that, hey, if I go all in and I lose all this money, then I'm not making rent. That's 100% going to affect the way you play.
All these things, when you go play, there's all these things that are on your mind for whatever reason, whatever you're trying to do with that poker or whatever it is, whatever hobby. It could be anything. Like I've always enjoyed playing video games. I made the mistake of starting a video game lounge a long time ago, and that was my foray into entrepreneurship. It crash and burn. A lot of lessons learned. That's a story for another time, but suffice it to say that it ruined the hobby for me for a while because I just enjoy playing video games just to escape, just to put my mind into something else. It's fun, it's relaxing, whatever. But when I'm doing it as a business, all of a sudden, well, no, that's not fun. Now I got to pay attention. Now I got to focus. I couldn't enjoy my hobby the way I was used to, and it kind of wrecked it for me. So it's like anything, like working on cars or something. If you have a project car, you like tinkering on cars, maybe you shouldn't open a garage because now you got to work on the people's cars and they want things done really quickly. Or if you just like enjoying taking your time, fixing up a car on your off time. So I definitely understand when people say, don't turn a hobby into a business. But if you have a passion for something that you can make money from, that might be a little different. Like a podcast, for instance, I think you have real passion for that. Maybe even your digital marketing agency, if you have a passion for that, you want to do something great. It's different. So anyway, it's all lessons learned along the way that I've picked up.
Stuff, yep.
Is there any other lessons that you've learned along the way that you want to share?
The only other lessons I learned along the way is really to just be resilient. If you have a goal, to keep at it. I know it's cliche, but I mean, like it is true because there was like a lot of, and I have this little journal um of like all the business ventures that failed, timestamps with screenshots. I have like literally a
Really?
screenshot when I lost all my money on Bybit and stuff. I took a screenshot of how much money I lost, so that
Wow.
way I could like remind
What a
myself,
reminder.
yeah, as a reminder of
Yeah,
where I came from, and that even though I lost all that money then, I now I got it all back, and I would have never got it all back had I just
give up.
decided to just give up. So
Yeah,
I would say to not give up, to
not
not
give,
give up,
not give up.
and to just to just put, push through. And sometimes it's not always about sticking with the first idea that you have.
Sure.
Sometimes you have to reevaluate certain ideas. That's one thing that I learned about myself, is that sometimes I really get caught up in just continuing to push forward and not really taking time to reflect on, if circumstances or whatever have changed to why I should continue to do what I'm doing. So every week now, I have I have a journal, and in my journal in particular, I write down, everything I did for the day, every day, and I've been doing it since 2018. So like I have my entire life from 2018 to today basically documented,
Wow.
and typed out, you know. So but I added an extra layer on top of that on Sundays, where I do a weekly reflection where I reflect on like my health, like my spiritual, mental, emotional health and
Wow.
stuff like that, and also reflect on am I still on track to hitting my goals? Like, have my goals changed? And I actually did, and I'm glad that I implemented that, because my goals did change, because I found that when I would get at the end of the year and maybe there's something that fundamentally changed and I never changed my goal. I made my goals in December and then decided to start the podcast in like March or April, something like that. But but the goals for my podcast would not be in there. And if I didn't
Right.
take the time to reflect, I would have got to the end of the year and realized, oh shit, I didn't even put any goals for
Right.
my podcast. So I made sure to not do that this year, and I put my podcast goals in my journal for this year.
Well, that is fantastic. So during the week, you write in your journal, and on
Mhm.
Sundays is kind of like the big reflection of, you take stock of maybe your week or where you're at compared to your goals, and
Mhm.
that is really something. That's
Mhm.
impressive. That's impressive to have that kind of presence of mind to do that kind of stuff. I think more of us should be doing that. I should be doing that stuff myself, just so you keep yourself on track, keep yourself grounded.
Oh yeah, it's definitely tough. I actually had a colleague. He inspired me to do it, because he had started doing it in 2017. And he told me about it, and I was like, every day? It seemed like a lot. And and it's funny, because like when I first started doing it, my journal entries wasn't that long. It was like a paragraph like each
Right.
day. But now, like, I could write like a whole novel. Sometimes I even dread doing my journal, because so much stuff happens throughout the day. But I've gotten to a point where like I don't mind doing it. Sometimes, like if I have time throughout the day, I'll journal and whatnot. And then I always kind of look forward to the one at the end of the year, because I typically do the journal of what I did that day, and then I reflect on the year, and I write about each month anything significantly that happened. So that's 12 months to write about, and then
You really break it down.
I write what my goals were for the year. Did I hit my goals? Why I didn't hit my goals? And then the next year's goals. So it takes me a long time. That one always takes me like at least like 2 hours to write. But
I would think. Yeah, sure.
yeah, but it's good.
It
It's
sounds
good.
cathartic. It sounds like it's really good to purge all that stuff out of your brain, just
Hmm.
get it down and really see your thoughts on paper.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean, I really do it because, I mean, the main reason why I started doing and kept up with it is because I know one day I'll probably write a book, and I like the idea of not having to rely on my memory. Because if I had to remember, what I did
Absolutely.
in 2018, 2019 on any particular day, I just can't do it. But
No.
because I have my journal and I write the date next to it, I could literally go back and be like, on January 20th, 2019, what was I thinking? It's right here. I wrote it down.
Yeah,
So.
then they come to do the movie of your life. There's a script for you already.
Exactly. And I'm sure AI will be so good to the point where I could probably transcribe the whole thing and be like, yo, make an animation or something like that
Yeah,
of my life.
I can't imagine that's going to be too far off. A couple years from now, maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right. You probably just dump that stuff into whatever AI is, whatever chat
Exactly.
GPT is up to at that point, and you can.
Make a movie out of it, something.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. But that's really smart. I think that's. I think it's very important to have goals, but And making goals, I think, to be fair, is probably the easy part. Really making sure, checking in with yourself to make sure that you're still on track, or if those goals still make sense. Yeah, that's probably the tougher part, because you get busy and you move on. You're like, okay, this is what I'm doing for the year. And like, okay, you move on. But if you don't check in with yourself every week or month or whatever to make sure
Yeah.
still on track, you can easily get off course.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I would encourage everybody to start a journal. You don't have to do it every day like me, but I would say at least once a week. Just like pick one day a week where you're like, hey, I'm just gonna write down. It doesn't have to be this too much. It could be a paragraph, sentence, whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. Because I know there will come a point in time to where I'll be so busy to the point where I'll probably have to scale my journal back to once a week. But I'm trying to keep my daily journal until the wheels fall off, basically.
Look, you do it when you're flying around on your private jet. Yeah, that'll be it. Right? When you have downtime, flying around between cities, meeting, hobnobbing with, and you're going city to city, trying to talk all these billionaires to come on your podcast, right?
Yes, sir. That's the goal. That's the goal, man. I just got to put in the work, put in the inputs, and not even worry about what the outputs are. So
yeah. All right, let me ask you this, just to put you on the spot a little bit.
Sure.
What would be your dream guest on your podcast?
Oh, dream guest? Oh, I actually already wrote these down in my journal because I want to be able to look back in my journal and be like, I started my podcast, and on this day I said that this person is going to be on my podcast, and here they are, and I'm gonna show it to them when they come on.
That's fun.
So let's say dream guest: Alex Hormozi, for sure. Chris Williamson, Stephen Bartlett. Those are the ones I could think off the top of my head.
Okay.
Mainly, I mean, Alex Hormozi, because he just has given me so much knowledge over the years in terms of business, and I just know that we could, have a banger episode. I probably wouldn't even have to prepare for the episode because I watch all of his business content. Like I already have the script in my head. Steven and Chris, they're really big podcasters. I really look up to them as podcasters. Like their show is really top notch, and I hope and will get to their level eventually. But I have to go through the weeds. They've been podcasting for I think 6 years, 7 years, something like that. So I just got to put my time in and continue to grind it out. But those would probably be the top people. And then obviously it would be dope to get LeBron too on the podcast. Some of the A-listers and stuff. But in terms of business and podcasting and stuff, content creators, it'd probably be those guys.
Those guys, yeah. Start there and then hit up LeBron after.
Exactly. But honestly, you saying that reminds me of something that I was thinking not too long ago. But is that through podcasting, I really realized the degrees of separation between me and the people that I was telling you about that on one of my podcasts or A-listers is really not that big. You know what I mean? It's actually fairly small. And I realized this when so I went to Howard University, and one day I'm scrolling on Instagram, and this girl who went to Howard at the same time I did, I think she graduated a year or two after I did, she started this podcast with Angel Reese. So I was just stopped and thought, and I was like, yo, if I really wanted to try and get Angel Reese on my podcast, I know exactly how I do it. I probably talk to this person who knows her, and she's the co-host with Angel Reese, make that connection, boom. You know what I mean? Obviously, I need some skin in the game, and I'm trying to make sure to have my podcast. I want to have a decent following so they don't think I'm just Joe Schmo. But I'm saying in terms of getting in contact and making that connection, it wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, when you think about it, break it down, it sounds doable, right?
Yeah, exactly. It sounds 100% doable. So that's one thing that I've learned through podcasting that kind of excites me and kind of keeps me going. Even though it's humble beginnings, but everybody starts from zero. Everybody starts from zero, but eventually, as long as I don't quit, I'll be fine. Because they always say that I was watching Chris Williamson, and he was talking about how 90% of podcasters, active podcasts, don't make it past episode 3, and then 90% of those podcasts that do don't make it past episode 20. So I was like, oh, well, if you want to be in the top 1%, all you have to do is get to episode 22, 23, and then just keep going.
I think it drops off significantly. Yeah.
The
numbers are...
Yeah, and I understand why. Even though I have a team, there's still some days where I was just I finally got to the point. This was before I had my VA and had her take care of all my recordings and stuff. But I would have to get on here and download everything, give it to the editor, tell that it was just a lot. So now I train my VAs to the point where I can just get off Riverside and then just shoot her a text, and then she just handles the rest. So
that's a good deal. That's a good deal. I want to get there someday. I'll get there someday. Yeah.
For sure.
Grinding it out. That's the hardest thing for a content creator, no matter who you are. You're writing a book, you're doing YouTube videos, to create good content when no one's watching or listening or reading. You're
Man,
pouring your heart out, right?
absolutely.
And no one knows who you are. Once you get big, they might go back and look at your stuff, maybe fine. But first podcast, your first book, your first video, whatever you're doing, you're marketing the hell out of it. Like, hey guys, watch my stuff or read my book or whatever. No one knows who you are. And you just got to push through that. So I can see how the drop off is so significant, because an old movie, right? Field of Dreams say you build it and they will come. But that's not true. That's not true in the real world, right?
Yeah.
You can put as much content as you want out there, but you got to market it. You got to push through it. You got to be consistent, and you got to persevere. They just got to keep putting the episodes out there and slowly gather your following, and it builds, and you got to cash in. You got to build on the momentum, right? Keep it going. Get the momentum going, and you drop the ball for a couple months, don't put out any content, you might lose a lot of your audience.
Once you hop on, like, you really can't get off. I mean, obviously you can't, but if you think you're going to get off, then get back on, and you're going to be in the same spot that you were when you got off, it's not happening. So I actually originally was going to do a bi-weekly show. I was going to do every other week, because I wasn't sure that I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get guests quick enough for me to do a weekly show. But what I did is I recorded my first 4 episodes first before I did like my big announcement, hey, I have a podcast, right?
Nice.
And so when I released my first episode, I was like, all right. So I had about 3 weeks worth of content, And so I started getting more guests and stuff. And then I was like, you know what? What if I just did weekly, and then if for whatever reason I can't do weekly, then just do bi-weekly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I started doing that, and I've been able to keep a weekly show for the past like 4 months. And I don't really see myself, falling off from a weekly show. Like, it's been pretty manageable. I've been able to get my stamina up, find guests, been able to, have my turnaround time in terms of, prepping, cut down. So I've been just, doing my thing day to day, day in and day out.
Your podcast, is it all guests, or do you create your own content sometimes?
Nah, it's pretty much all guests. I might experiment with some solo episodes here and there. I'll probably only do maybe like Q&As every now and then.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
Like as checkpoints and stuff like that. Oh, like when I get monetized, I could do a Q&A or something like that. But I don't plan on being like, hey guys, this is a topic that I want to talk to, and it's just
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough, and I respect people that do that, because
I respect
it's just you, and you got to come up with everything, the script, the talking points, blah blah blah. I feel like I could do it. Like I have no doubt that I could do it if I wanted to. But for me personally, like you were talking about earlier, is that you like talking to people, you like meeting people, hearing people's stories.
That's what
and
I
stuff
get out
like
of
that.
it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I like that, like doing that too. So that's what, like, I don't want to sit and talk to a camera myself, even though I know, someone's gonna watch it. They may comment, and I do get that interaction that way. But I'd rather have this type of interaction of, face to face with somebody else and bouncing ideas off of each other.
Same. Yeah, that's what I get out of it, right? I love it. I love a good story. I love to find out how you do your thing, to better understand, to learn, to soak it all up, all that fun stuff. All right, Myles, I think I'm going to cut it off here.
For sure.
I've gotten a great story out of you, and I love it. I love everything you had to say. I love the ups and downs. I hate to hear that your crypto account got wiped out a couple times, of course, but as part of the fun, part of the learning process, I guess, right?
Yeah.
We learn our lessons and we move on.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I got it all back, so it's all good.
You got it all back. That's good. Yeah, because you persevered, right? Like you said. Awesome. Well, thanks, Myles. I appreciate your time. It's been a lot of fun, and I wish you all the best.
All right. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Greatly appreciate the opportunity.